Sheng Congzhi is the adopted daughter of the Yi family in Yuncheng, and also a well-known black queen in the industry. It is rumored that she is ignorant and infamous. In order to climb higher, she used all her tricks and means, but ended up entering the wrong room and flirting with the wrong person later. The man calmly took off his glasses, with a casual and lazy smile. Don't waste the benefits of delivering them to your door. I heard that Fu Yan is an illegitimate child. He has no power or influence in the Fu family, and he has a childhood sweetheart named Bai Yueguang. So Sheng Congzhi filed for divorce. Fu Yan. Marriage is impossible to divorce. As for technical issues, we can practice more. A week later, Sheng Congzhi made a high-profile statement about his love for the top male celebrity in the love show. The hot search has exploded, and Fu Yan's face has also turned green. Another week has passed, and the love show scene welcomes standby male guests. The man appeared in front of the camera, his thin lips slightly hooked, his eyes playful, and his eyebrows scattered and unrestrained. For eyes facing each other, Sheng Congzhi's surprised cup fell to the ground. Someone is curious. Do you know him? Sheng Congzhi's stiff smile. I don't know. That night, she was dragged into the room with one hand and pressed against the wall. My husband doesn't even know me anymore. A deep voice rang in my ear, and Fu Yan stared at her delicate face. Wife. Sheng Congzhi. Hashtag becoming a national CP with my hidden husband. Hashtag in the love show, they don't like each other but are knocked to death by fans. Hashtag, proud female celebrity versus naughty male doctor, 1v1, get married first, love later, go both ways, full text suite, PS. The love complex is relatively backward, with a 6-year-old age difference between the male and female leads. The white moonlight is fake, so you can rest assured to enter the trap. Keywords of the novel. After hidden marriage, Dr. Fu teases her out of control every day without pop-ups. After hidden marriage, Dr. Fu teases her out of control every day. Download the complete text. After hidden marriage, Dr. Fu teases her out of control every day to read the latest chapters. Chapter 1. Divorce. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Divorce. I haven't seen my husband for half a year since we got married, and we've been so passionate since we first met. Late at night. Sheng Congzhi was sleeping in a daze when he suddenly felt the mattress on his side collapse. Before she could open her eyes, her back was pressed against her chest. At the same time, the hem of the nightgown was lifted, and the icy touch kept moving in with the skin. The breath in my ears was burning hot. Why didn't I sleep without my husband? Sheng Congzhi frowned and reached out to push him, but was quickly grabbed. That is a pair of hands belonging to surgeons, with a cool white skin tone, thin and powerful palms, and 5 slender and long fingers, especially the tail finger. Very beautiful, suitable for playing the piano. The soft waist of a woman is not tight, and her skin is white to a reflection in the dim light. Sheng Congzhi couldn't hold back and said, hiss. The man's hoarse teasing followed, branches are good. After finishing, Sheng Congzhi finally saw the man's face clearly. Fu Yan's eyebrows and eyes were extremely beautiful, with a slender and smooth eye shape, and a slight upward curve at the end of the eye, somewhat like Danfeng's eyes, carrying a certain innate sharpness. But, he didn't even take off his clothes. The fabric of the white shirt is neat and tidy, except for a few buttons on the collar that have been pulled open, revealing a half cut of the sharp collarbone, like a dignified beast in clothing. Waiting for the man to calmly get out of bed, let's get divorced. The slender figure paused, and Fu Yan half squinted his eyes, his expression a bit casual. Reason. Sheng Congzhi's expression was cold. Your skills are too poor. Fu Yan chuckled instead of getting angry and said, did you believe me when I shouted so loudly just now? Sheng Congzhi picked up a pillow and smashed it over. You're shameless. The pillow hit the man and then fell onto the dark soft blanket. The next second, The thin blanket she had just wrapped around was torn apart again. Sheng Congzhi was suffocated by his kiss, and within his sight, he could only see the man's mocking eyes at the end. Divorce is impossible. As for technical issues, we can practice more, he said. Wake up again the next morning. The phone rang non-stop, leaving only Sheng Congzhi on the big bed. Just leave after finishing eating. Heartless old dog. Hello. What are you doing, ancestor? Why don't you reply to my message? Unlike his agent Yu Zhou's fiery tone, Sheng Congzhi spoke lazily. What's wrong? Do you still remember Mr. Zhang at last night's cocktail party? Sheng Congzhi thought for a moment and said. The one I opened. Yu Zhou choked and said, he found several marketing accounts and said that you deliberately played a big card, always late and left early, and made various unreasonable demands and did not cooperate with the brand's activities. Now the hot search has exploded. You said, why did you hit his head last night? Can't you bear it and just pass by? He said he wants to sleep with me, should he also endure it? Sheng Congzhi interrupted. My aunt, he's just a mouth twister. Why are you so impulsive? It's not easy for me to take you here today, not to mention the entire entertainment industry. Just Usihua, how many people are eager to see your position? Dreaming of you stepping on a few feet in case of an accident. Don't forget that there are 2 spokespersons who want to renew their contracts recently, in case they are affected by this. I understand. Sheng Congzhi is most afraid of her nagging. You can find someone to do public relations. Hiss. Looking down, there were indeed bruises on the back of the waist. This literary scumbag. What's wrong? Sheng Congzhi said it's okay. By the way, I almost forgot that you got married. Yu Zhou asked, who is your husband really? What does he do? Thinking of last night, Sheng Congzhi sneered, duck making. Yu Zhou. Hanging up the phone, Sheng Congdian opened Weibo. Hashtag Sheng Congzhi's playing big card hashtag is currently on hot search. Isn't it appropriate to cooperate with the brand to carry out activities? How can someone else insist on being late and leaving early? What kind of ladies' airs are you putting on? What's going on with 208 now? If you don't have acting skills, if you don't have works, every day you either have various black materials or marketing beauty. I have a friend who has worked with her before and said that she is just a little girl in private. She has a bad temper, lacks quality, and is particularly difficult to serve. I only choose 5-star hotels to eat, and even have my assistant wash my underwear by hand. Sleeping in a slot is too low. Quality, isn't it? I used to be her face powder, ah bah. How can such people still play the female lead every time? Sheng rolled out of the entertainment industry from the branch. Sheng Congzhi didn't care and put down his phone and walked into the bathroom. After taking a bath, Yu Zhou called and said, the hot search is gone. Sheng raised his eyebrows from the branch and said, it's quite fast. It's not me, Yu Zhou said. I'm still communicating and suddenly all the posts can't be found. Sheng Congzhi debuted at the age of 17 and became the first sister of the company at the age of 21. Starting too fast has caused her to have a lot of feelings towards her family, and coupled with her straightforward personality, she has offended many people in recent years. However, every time she always manages to turn the tide, it's the other party who gets unlucky. It's either an accident, the company goes bankrupt, or even completely disappears from this circle after many attempts. Yu Zhou felt something was wrong. Did you find any wealthy tycoon behind my back? Or did you find your husband? Regarding this, Sheng Congzhi spoke calmly, just solve it. Putting down my phone and looking up, I realized that there was a note left on the coffee table, with a line of words written on it, fluttering like dragons and phoenixes. I'll go to work and take you back to Fu's house for dinner tonight. Be good. What? Who are you being good to? Be good to you, Grandpa. She quickly grabbed a piece of paper and wrote without saying a word. Yuncheng Hospital. At 5 p.m., after the last surgery, Fu Yan walked out of the operating room and stood in front of the sink, half squinting his eyes, repeatedly doing cleaning and disinfection work. Xie Qing beside him sighed, it was really thrilling just now. The old man almost couldn't be saved. Fortunately, you were there. Fu Yan is only 27 this year, but he is about to become a live star in the Department of Divine Surgery at Yuncheng Hospital. Because no matter how complex and dangerous the surgery is, as long as he is the main surgeon, there is nothing that cannot be saved. Since entering the industry, he has performed hundreds of surgeries with a success rate of up to 99%, and the postoperative infection mortality rate is even 0%. At a young age, he is as stable as an old dog. Xie Qing sighed for a while before suddenly frowning and saying, "Did you just return to China last night? Why didn't you take a 2-day break and come back to work? Are you really using yourself as a livestock?" Fu Yan tugged at the sterile cloth and slowly wiped his hands, saving lives and helping injuries. "It seems like you're in a good mood today," Xie Qing smiled. "You never spoke after surgery before." Fu Yan turned around, too lazy to talk to him anymore. Returning to the office, there was a cup of cappuccino and a sticky note on the table. "Dr. Fu, thank you very much for performing the surgery on my father. May I treat you to a meal follow with a string of phone numbers? Oh, there's a beautiful woman treating you again." Fu Yan's medical skills are excellent, and he is tall and handsome. He looks even more elegant wearing glasses. The little nurses in the hospital are all his fans, and the families of patients who want to approach him are even more eager. Unfortunately, someone has never been close to women and is as chaste as a monk. Sure enough, Fu Yan threw the sticky notes into the trash can, then picked up the coffee. And handed it to Xie Qing. "Surprisingly, you didn't throw it away." Xie Qing was shocked again. "Tell me quickly, what kind of happy event did you have?" Fu Yan lazily glanced at him and finally spoke up, "Is it okay to take my wife home for dinner?" Xie Qing. Sleeping slot. Yunjing Yihua secretly got married. 1 hour later, Fu Yan returned to Tinglan Garden. The servant approached and said, "Sir, madam, she has gone out." Fu Yan's footsteps did not stop, but with a faint he was about to go upstairs. "Sir, the servant chased after me, this is what my wife asked me to give you." Fu Yan took the note and raised his eyebrows. It is a handwritten divorce agreement. The reason for divorce line reads: "The man's betting skills are too poor." The slender and cold white fingers slowly clenched the note before crushing it. On Sven's face, a layer of mischievous flattery slowly lingered, resembling a smile but not a smile. The indoor atmosphere instantly condenses. The servant stood on the side, trembling. Wait for Fu Yan to finally lift his eyes. The servant blurted out, "I won't say it out." Fu Yan. Female celebrity versus male doctor, both male and female leads are hidden giants, both strong and sweet pets. Apart from slapping faces, they also send candy. I hope everyone likes it. Also, please ask for favorites, messages, and tickets. Group number 1633888148, Momoda, end of this chapter. Chapter 2.2, Dog Stuff. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2.2, Dog Stuff Leaf Club. Sheng walked into the private room from Ji and said, "Why are you the only one?" The woman wearing a red suspender and a hot figure asked back, "Aren't you hot?" In June, Yuncheng was already experiencing a heat wave, with temperatures reaching up to 39 degrees Celsius. Sheng Congzhi was wearing a high-necked and long-sleeved dress, with a long hem dragging down to the back of his feet and a scarf wrapped around his neck. As she approached, Qin Jinjin quickly pulled off the silk scarf and said, "Is Fu Yan responsible for all this, and this?" Sheng Congzhi was caught off guard and said, "It's been bitten by a dog." TSK, wearing glasses and pretending to be gentle all day long. I thought he was cold-hearted, but I didn't expect him to be a beast dressed in clothes. Qin Jinjin laughed heartily. No wonder you suddenly married him, you just crave his body. Sheng Congzhi. Okay, she admits. As a Yano, she once had a crush on Fu Yan, but on the day of her confession, she saw him hugging Xia Zhishi, and soon news of their marriage came. And she was also forced by her foster parents to get engaged to Fu Dongting due to financial issues with the Yi family. At the Fu family, Fu Dongting has been nurtured as an heir since childhood and has been the CEO of the Fu Group since he was only 25 years old this year. Fu Yan studied clinical medicine, and it is said that he was the illegitimate son of Mr. Fu. He was only brought back to the Fu family to recognize his ancestors at the age of 13, and he is only 2 years older than his nephew, Fu Dongting. Fu Yan is not favored by the Fu family at all, and it is impossible for him to have any inheritance rights. Moreover, after working, he moved to Tinglan Garden, and even the Fu family rarely returned. After she entered the entertainment industry, the two of them had almost no intersection. If it weren't for the accident that night 6 months ago, by the way, Qin Jinjin helped her pour the wine. Lin Yuha has something to do. Xia Yuran said she wants to accompany her boyfriend. Guo Junwei seems to have some social activities, while Lu Huichen is available, but she needs to come over later. Sheng picked up his wine glass from the branch and said, "It's all in the wine." Since the Yi family's biological daughter was found back, her adopted daughter has suddenly become a counterfeit, with more than half of her friends missing. The rest are just for fun, otherwise it's like falling into a trap. This is the reality of society. I just had half a glass of wine when my phone rang. Sweet's endorsement was intercepted by Yi Jiaorui. Sheng Congzhi, wearing brown retro sunglasses, stood at the corner of the corridor and said, "Oh. I really didn't expect that she would be the daughter of the Yi family who has been searching for more than 20 years. Now she's flying up to the branches and turning into a phoenix. How could she have access to such resources in the past? There's nothing else to worry about." "Don't dislike listening to me when I talk," Yu Zhou muttered. "Last time you had to be able to have a good meal with Mr. Wang of Sweet, and what else was going on with her? You're just too proud. I don't know how to bear the humiliation and can't let go of your position." Finally hung up the phone, just turned around. "Oh, isn't this Sheng Congzhi, the first sister of Ihua?" Sheng lifted his chin slightly from Ji and glanced coldly over. "It is Yi Jiaorui, the biological daughter just found by the Yi family." Sheng Congzhi was born with a beautiful face, oval face, peach blossom eyes, slightly raised eye shape, and a light-colored small tear mole at the end of his eyes. His temperament was cold and charming, and he stood there flaunting his beauty. But Yi Jiaorui is different. She has a delicate and charming appearance, and a sweet and harmless smile. She is completely different from Sheng Congzhi's naturally aggressive thick face, and also more like the appearance of the Yi family. At this moment, she was wearing a pink dress with a proud expression on her face. "Don't you know yet? Sweet has officially announced that I will be the new spokesperson. I heard we talked about it before, and it seems that my image is more in line with their brand positioning. Also, Wu Jia talked to me about a new variety show, which is currently very popular." Sheng Congzhi looked at her quietly. Perhaps her expression is too calm. Yi Jiaorui immediately began to mock, "You are just the adopted daughter of the Yi family. It would be good if you didn't sweep you out of the house. What are you still proud of? Moreover, Brother Dongting has long wanted to divorce, and you have been chasing him all day long, even wanting to bow down his tyranny. As a result, Yuran entered the wrong room, slept with the wrong person, and was caught and raped by the elders at the scene. Shameless. It's a disgrace to our Yi family. If I were you, I wouldn't even feel embarrassed to go out. What's going on in this store?" Sheng Congzhi chuckled, "Do dogs come out and bark without even tying them up? Who do you think is a dog?" Yi Jiaorui's face turned ugly for an instant. Sheng raised his red lips from the branch, and even through his sunglasses, he could still see his arrogance. "So it's you, dog," he said. Yi Jiarui angrily reached out and pushed her. As a result, Sheng Congzhi grabbed his wrist and his voice suddenly became cold. As soon as he came out, he shouted and barked wildly. "It's not a dog, so what kind of animal are you?" Yi Jiarui felt pain and said, "Release me." Sheng Congzhi looked thinner than her, but her hand strength was not small. She couldn't break free no matter how hard she tried. Yi Jiarui became angry with embarrassment and said, "Okay, there are surveillance cameras here. I'll send the video online later and see how arrogant you are." Sheng Congzhi let out a chuckle and said, "They're all in the entertainment industry. What kind of white lotus should we put here? Besides, since I debuted, do I still have less black material? Why bother having your own one? I happen to be filming a new drama recently, and you can still promote it for free online to increase exposure. But how long has it been since you returned to the Yi family?" On the surface, she pretended to be generous and tolerant, but in private, she actually made things difficult for me as an adopted daughter. If this matter were to reach the ears of the Yi family. Since returning to the Yi family, Yi Jiarui has been acting well-behaved and sensible. She is even more tolerant and generous towards her adopted daughter. If she finds out that everything is just a disguise. Yi Jiarui's face twisted for a moment, then suddenly became flustered and scared. She even knelt down to the ground and said, "Sister Gigi, I was wrong. It's all my fault. If you're not happy, just face me. Don't blame brother Dongting." Sheng Congzhi's eyebrows furrowed slightly. Subconsciously turning around, Yi Jiarui surprisingly pounced on the wall again. "It hurts so much." At the same time, a sharp shout came, "Sheng Congzhi. It is Fu Dongting." Sheng Congzhi couldn't help but roll his eyes. The man quickly walked up to him, dressed in a shirt and trousers, neatly tied with a tie, but his handsome and elegant face was full of anger. "What have you done to Jiao Jiao?" He immediately picked up Yi Jiarui and said, "Jiao Jiao, are you okay?" "Brother Dongting." Yi Jiarui leaned against her body, "It's all my fault. I just feel that Sister Gigi shouldn't treat you like this. If she likes someone else, she should have told you clearly earlier. How can she entangle you while sleeping with another man? Especially if that person is your own uncle." I really just wanted to say a few words to her, but she suddenly got angry and even started hitting me. "Alright, stop talking. I know you're all for my own good," Fu Dongting said in a gentle voice. "Is there anything uncomfortable? Should I take you to the hospital?" Yi Jiarui's voice was coquettish as she said, "I seem to have hit my head just now, and I had a headache. At this very moment, find me for a headache." A low, teasing male voice suddenly came from behind. Sheng Congzhi's eyelashes trembled. Looking up, I saw a tall and slender figure standing in the dark corner ahead. Who else can it be besides Fu Yan's dog like that? He was wearing a loose light gray shirt with a slightly open collar, biting a cigarette at the corner of his mouth, squinting his eyes and leaning against the wall, looking loose and lazy like a lazy young master. With 4 eyes facing each other, Fu Yan raised an eyebrow slightly and walked over to her. "Miss Yi has a headache, right?" Yi Jiarui has been inquiring about the Fu family recently, knowing that this person is a doctor. She quickly denied, "No, I no longer feel pain." "Is it not painful again?" Fu Yan held a cigarette with his slender fingers and squinted his eyes loosely. "As a professional surgeon, I have an obligation to remind Miss Yi that headaches are not a small matter and must be taken seriously. After all, it is related to the brain. If the brain is sick, it needs to be treated early. If the brain is damaged, the impact will be significant in the future. If there are any sequelae left, it will become brain disability." Pushi. Sheng Congzhi raised his red lips and smiled like a silver bell. "Sorry, as an actor, I have also received professional training, unless I can't help it." End of this chapter. Chapter 3.3, Going Home with Husband for Dinner. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3.3, going home with husband for dinner. Yi Jiaorui's angry face turned green. Fu Dongting's expression is not very attractive either. As for Fu Yan, he tilted his face slightly and smiled as he looked at Sheng Congzhi. His gaze was clear and direct, imposing and without any restraint. Sheng Congzhi slowly restrained his smile and then chose to look up at the ceiling. "Uncle." Fu Dongting's tone was quite respectful. "It's so coincidental that you came here because." Fu Yan didn't even move his eyes. "Of course, it's picking up his wife for dinner," he said. Fu Dongting. "It's you." Fu Yan finally glanced sideways at him. "Do you want to go back?" Fu Dongting was stunned for a moment and said, "I." "That's right." Fu Yan suddenly laughed. "My former fiancée AE suddenly turned into an aunt, and I have to make you watch your elders show affection at home. It's really uncomfortable. No wonder you came here to get drunk and relieve your worries." Fu Dongting said again. Sheng Congzhi was once very eager to speak. But looking at Fu Dongting's suppressed expression, why did she suddenly feel so happy? "Branches." Fu Yan spoke. Before Sheng Congzhi could speak, the man grabbed her wrist and said, "Come home with your husband for dinner." The two of them left together like this. Looking at their backs, Fu Dongting frowned tightly. Yi Jiarui even gritted her teeth in frustration and said, "Brother Dongting, Sister Gigi is too much. She shouldn't have intentionally done it, right? She knew you were going to divorce, so she hooked up with your uncle. In the Fu family, she would be your elder, and she just wanted to disgust you." "Stop talking." Fu Dongting interrupted. "He doesn't like Sheng Congzhi at all. If it weren't for the pressure from Mr. Fu, he wouldn't have agreed to this marriage alliance. But it's okay if she used to have scandals with those male celebrities online, but this time she even gave him a green hat in public. On the night of his birthday banquet, he slept with Uncle Fu Yan. Where does this make his face stand?" Outside the club, Sheng Congzhi immediately pulled out his hand. Fu Yan raised his eyebrows and lowered his head to get closer, looking into her eyes. "What's wrong with Gigi?" The man's voice is very magnetic, and when he calls out the words, "branch," it becomes even more seductive, coupled with his handsome face intentionally approaching. The breath is approaching, with a faint smell of disinfectant, and I am drilling straight into my heart. It's almost like reaching the extreme. "It's better for you to smile," said Fu Yan. It was like a thunderbolt on the flat ground, and Sheng jumped fiercely from the mouth of the branch. Immediately, she calmly averted her gaze and said, "How do you know I'm here?" Fu Yan extinguished his cigarette and threw it into the nearby trash can, "Because." His voice was lazy and casual, and he lazily dragged his tone. "I'm your husband," he said. "My phone is ringing. A certain young master sent a message. I have arrived at the club. Where are you, Gigi?" She typed, "I have something to do and will leave first." Lu Huichen. "Are you leaving? Where are you now? I'll see you off. Gigi is waiting for me. I will go downstairs immediately." Sheng Congzhi. As soon as he lifted his eyes, Fu Yan lowered his eyelids and glanced at her phone screen. Sheng Congzhi pressed the black screen and said, "Aren't you going back to Fu's house? I've had a drink, let's take your car and leave." Fu Yan looked at her, his mouth curved deeper, and his slender fingers took out the car key. With a whoosh, Sheng Congzhi quickly walked towards the black sedan on the roadside. Opening the rear door, I found 2 huge storage boxes on the seats. Fu Yan's voice came, "Sit in front." Sheng Congzhi collided with the car door and could only sit in the passenger seat. And it turned out that the seat is too low. She has a pair of proud long legs, which makes sitting like this very uncomfortable. Reaching out to adjust the back of the seat, unable to pull the crotch. After coming and going, my patience ran out. When Fu Yan got into the car, she questioned, "What kind of broken car are you?" Fu Yan looked at her and said, Sheng Congzhi said, "The seat is too low, I feel uncomfortable sitting there, and I can't adjust it." Next second, Fu Yan suddenly leaned over. Her slender arms wrapped around her front, almost covering her entire body above her, while her hand holding the handle was covered by a man's palm. Sheng jumped again from the mouth of the branch and quickly withdrew his hand as if he had been electrocuted. Fu Yan stared at her face and calmly grasped the handle, exerting force. With a click, the back of the chair suddenly lifted up. Sheng Congzhi's entire body suddenly rose up. Then she felt her lips pressed against the corner of his mouth. Electric light and flint shake the heart and mind. Sheng withdrew from the busy branch. When I see the obvious lipstick mark left by the man's thin lips, Sheng Congzhi blinked his eyes and said, I. Haha. Fu Yan chuckled low, if Gigi wants to kiss, I can be there anytime, without having to sneak around. Sheng Congzhi. I suspect that you are deliberately taking advantage of me. Looking at her delicate face close by, Fu Yan took the tissue box and said, help me wipe it. Sheng Congzhi said speechlessly, can't you wipe it yourself? Do you want me to serve you? Fu Yan remained calm and composed, didn't I serve you last night? Sheng Congzhi said again. So stingy. Fu Yan lowered his voice, are you still not satisfied with my skills? Sheng Congzhi didn't want to compare himself with anyone who had thicker skin. He quickly took out a tissue to help him wipe off his lipstick mark, then angrily pushed him away and said, drive. Fu Yan lazily smiled and started the car. Silent all the way. It's almost 8 o'clock when I arrived at Fu's old house. Under the night, the main villa was brightly lit. Passing through the courtyard, the roses bloomed perfectly, with a gentle breeze blowing and a faint fragrance floating. Just got off the car, a black Bentley came from behind. It's Fu Dongting. Almost simultaneously, Sheng Congzhi's right hand was held, while his ring finger cooled. When Fu Dongting got off the car, he happened to see this scene and instantly frowned. Sheng Congzhi was also caught off guard. The two of them had a flash marriage and a hidden marriage, so simple that they only went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to obtain a marriage certificate. She didn't expect Fu Yan to even prepare a wedding ring. My nephew has always been arrogant, do you want to anger him? Fu Yan's voice was pressed against her ear, deep and with a hint of rashness. Sheng Congzhi. All the blind thoughts disappeared completely in an instant. Fu Dongting approached and said, Uncle. Where's Miss Yi? Fu Yan raised his eyebrows, did you go to the hospital? She said it's not a big deal, there's no need to go to the hospital, Fu Dongting explained. And there are many friends celebrating for her tonight. It's not good to leave halfway, so I'll come back first. Fu Yan nodded and said, it seems that Miss Yi is not mentally ill. Fu Dongting. Sheng sneered coldly from Ji's heart. After staying in the entertainment industry for a long time, she knows that the more unattainable men look, the more they actually play in private. Internet celebrities, models, female celebrities. Even if they get married, they can't control their lower bodies. So Fu Dongting is quite good, at least he is gentle and polite, and does not engage in promiscuous relationships between men and women. I didn't expect it. Unexpectedly blind in both eyes and heart. End of this chapter. Chapter 4, that's called a wave. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4, that's called a wave. Mr. Fu has just turned 76 years old, and his fitness and maintenance have made him look old and strong. At this moment, he looked slightly angry and said, we've been married for half a year, and finally we know we're going home. Working, busy. Fu Yan smiled and sat down on the sofa. Sheng Congzhi, who was always holding hands, could only sit next to him. Fu Dongting went to the opposite side. Mr. Fu looked at Sheng Congzhi and said, what happened to the hot search in the morning? Sheng Congzhi said, it's all resolved. Mr. Fu snorted coldly, since you're married to the Fu family, you should pay more attention to your influence in the future. You've already had a bad reputation and have been making so many messy news all day long. If you want me to tell you, why don't you leave the circle early? This orange is good, Fu Yan suddenly said, picking up an orange and breaking it open in 3 or 2 strokes. He pinched a petal of orange flesh and handed it to Sheng Congzhi's mouth. Sheng Congzhi. Do we have to show off like this? Glancing at Fu Dongting's handsome face across from her, she opened her mouth. The sour and sweet orange flesh was stuffed into her mouth, accompanied by the touch of the man's fingers brushing against his lips. Fu Yan asked her in a low voice, "Is it sweet?" Sheng nodded subconsciously from the branch. "I'll try it," Fu Yan said, retracting his finger and then sticking it directly to his lips, licking it with the tip of his tongue. Frivolous and lecherous. Sheng Congzhi's breathing became chaotic in an instant. Fu Dongting was obviously quite stimulated and stood up directly. "I'll take the phone," he said. Mr. Fu stared at someone and said, "All day long. No one is good." "It's really sweet," Fu Yan raised his eyebrows. "Dad, do you also want to eat it?" Mr. Fu. He changed the topic and said, "I don't need to work tomorrow weekend, will I stay at home tonight?" Before Sheng could speak from Ji, Fu Yan nodded and said, "Okay." In addition to Fu Yan, Mr. Fu also has a son and a daughter. My daughter's family heard that they went abroad in their early years. As for the son, he is Fu Qikuan, the father of Fu Dongting. He and his wife Pei Qianyun are both over 20 years older than Fu Yannian, but Fu Yan is still the biological son of Mr. Fu, so under the same roof, the apparent family harmony still needs to be maintained. Especially Mrs. Pei Qianyun, who is gentle, polite, kind, and pretending, constantly advises Fu Yan and Sheng to eat more vegetables during dinner, and even takes the initiative to help pick up the vegetables. Unfortunately, not long after, Sheng put down his chopsticks and said, "I'm full. I'll go out and answer the phone." When her figure disappeared, Fu Yuting, the youngest daughter of the Fu family, snorted coldly, "The elders are still eating," so she ran out to answer the phone. "This woman is too incompetent, isn't she? What do you call her?" Fu Yan suddenly looked up. Fu Yuting sat opposite him, her face changed in fear from the look in her eyes, and she quickly changed her mind. "It's Auntie, did she forget about it for a while?" "Uncle, I know I was wrong." Fu Yan said word by word, "Don't call yourself sister. Law. Fu Dongting once again. Terrace. I really have something to do. Did you run into Yi Jiaorui? Qin Jinjin spat, "This slut. I just went upstairs and happened to see her at a party celebrating receiving a new endorsement. Lin Yuha and Xia Yuran were both there, and that Guo Junwei was actually helping Yi Jiaorui tie her shoelaces." Sheng Congzhi hurriedly asked, "Are you okay?" Sure enough, Qin Jinjin was proud and said, "I rushed in and kicked Guo Junwei. I gave Lin Yuha a big mouth. Xia Yuran was covered in wine that I spilled all over her." Sheng Congzhi. She is truly her best friend. Strong enough. Do you know what's the most satisfying thing? Qin Jinjin said, "I just finished the commotion when the club manager came and said there was a problem with the fire escape in the private room, driving Yi Jiaorui and the others out. You don't even know how ugly her face was at that time, End the call. Sheng Congzhi opened WeChat and said, "Thank you." Lu Huichen instantly replied with a questioning emoji. Suddenly, there was movement coming from behind. Fu Yuting walked out and said, "Don't you know yet? Sister Jishi has already returned to her home country." Sheng raised his eyebrows from the branch and said, "Is that right?" "It seems that you haven't done your homework well," Fu Yuting moaned coquettishly. Jishi Jia is the daughter of the Xia family, and also the first love of my childhood sweetheart. She was praised by the media as the #1 socialite in Yuncheng. Moreover, she is proficient in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, and is a famous talented woman. Who is like you? She can't even get into college and knows how to rely on men to rise. It's better than relying on an old man, right? Sheng Congzhi interrupted. Fu Yuting's expression suddenly changed. What are you talking nonsense about? You're speechless. Sheng Congzhi sneered, what evidence do you have against me? Fu Yuting was angry and said, Uncle is just playing with you. He only has Jishi in his heart. If Jishi hadn't rejected him, they would have gotten married long ago. How could they have had your turn as an adopted daughter? Now that Jishi has returned, you can wait to be dumped by Uncle. I'll see how you cry then. After speaking, turn around and return to the house. As Sheng Congzhi returned to the living room, Fu Yuting had already smiled sweetly and said, Auntie, Mom has already arranged for someone to tidy up your and Uncle's bedroom. This is your first time staying at the Fu family. If you have any requirements, just give orders to the servants. Sheng Congzhi also smiled lightly at the corners of his mouth, thank you Tingting. It should be. Pei Qianyun continued with a smile, they're all part of the same family. Sheng nodded from the branch. Isn't it just acting? She is best at this. Fu Yuncheng leaned against the bar to answer the phone. Did that person named Yi Jiaorui offend you? Whose club had problems with the fire exits just 2 months after it opened? With all these reckless methods, I'm glad you could think of it. Don't worry about Dad's affairs. Damn it. The other person cursed profusely, why are you 2 years younger than me? Fu Yan hung up directly and smiled as he picked up a glass of red wine. For a moment, the atmosphere in the living room was harmonious and warm. Mr. Fu rested early. After a while, everyone also returned to their rooms one after another. Sheng Congzhi followed Fu Yan upstairs. Entering the bedroom, the man turned on the lights first and then took off his glasses. Would you like to take a shower first or? You go ahead, Sheng Congzhi interrupted. Fu Yan looked at her with a mischievous smile and said, how about we take a mandarin duck bath together? Without the cover of his glasses, the man's eyebrows and eyes looked incredibly beautiful when he smiled. Raising people is even more skillful. Sheng Congzhi thought to himself. How could he be rejected by Xia Jishi like this? Because he is only the illegitimate son of the Fu family and has no inheritance rights. Why did he marry her? Could it be that Xia Ji was going back to China and deliberately used her to stimulate her ex-girlfriend? Perhaps her gaze was a bit flickering. Fu Yan came over and hugged her in his arms. Baby, you're staring at me so intently. Sheng Congzhi suddenly regained his senses and twisted his eyebrows to push him away. But the man was very strong, so she could only press her hands against his chest and say, you. Don't touch me. Fu Yan grinned and pinched her slender waist. Coincidentally hit the spot that was pinched red. Sheng Congzhi. Hiss. Fu Yan raised his eyebrows and said, is it really that painful? Sheng Congzhi glared at him and said, you didn't do it yet. Next time, I'll be gentle, Fu Yan said and chuckled again. Listen to it in your ears, it's called a wave. Fu Go. After the incident, brush your sleeves and hide your achievements and fame deeply. P.S. Ji is very intelligent, and there is another reason why she didn't get into college. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. 5. Good figure. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Good figure. Sheng Congzhi was holding his breath, and Fu Yan had already let go. Then, he raised his hand and pinched the buttons of his shirt, 1, 2. All unbuttoned and removed, then placed his hand on the belt of his pants. Sheng quickly withdrew his gaze from Ji and walked to the sofa to sit down. He took out his phone and lowered his head to swipe fiercely. Except for the night 6 months ago at the villa, when her memory was chaotic, Fu Yan woke up fully dressed, and then it was last night, when the lights in the bedroom were dim and he hardly took off his clothes, so now is the first time she has seen his body so intuitively. A startled glance. But it still lingers. Fu Yan is quite tall, looking almost 1.9 meters tall. He always looks lazy and thin on weekdays. Unexpectedly, despite his tight muscles, he still has abdominal muscles. Good figure. A sudden ringing of the phone rang. Fu Yan was still holding the zipper of his pants with one hand, and answered the phone with the other hand. Sheng Congzhi didn't want to eavesdrop, but the room was too quiet to hear the charming and soft voice of a woman on her phone. I don't know exactly what he said. After listening, Fu Yan pursed his lips and said, "Do you insist on me going?" That's right. Fu Yan paused for a moment. My wife is watching me in the room and won't let me go. Sheng Congzhi. She stood up directly, opened the wardrobe, casually searched for clothes to change, and then walked straight into the bathroom. I'm not looking at you. You go. Close the bathroom door. Fu Yan withdrew his gaze and said, "Did you miss Dad?" Damn it. The other person cursed profusely. Did you just lie to me about your wife? What did I lie to you for? Okay. The other person seemed incredulous. Come over now and bring your wife for everyone to see. A moment in the spring is worth $1,000, Fu Yan said lazily in his voice. Also, you, a 29-year-old young man, won't understand. Hanging up the phone, listening to the sound of water flowing from the bathroom, he grabbed his shirt and put it back on. Downstairs, Fu Dongting came in from the terrace and saw Fu Yan fiddling with the medicine box in front of the coffee table. Uncle. After shouting, I wanted to go upstairs, but was stopped and said, "Stop." The man half squinted his eyes and selected the ointment, speaking casually, "I accidentally twisted my waist." Fu Dongting. Fu Yan handed over the ointment and said, "Give this to your aunt. I'll go out if I have something to do." After speaking, he strode away. Sheng came out of the room after taking a shower, and there was no one left. Picking up his phone, Fu Yan sent a WeChat message 20 minutes ago. You go to bed first, I'll go to the hospital. Just fooling around and going to the hospital. What about deceiving ghosts? The door was knocked at this moment. When she saw the man standing outside, her eyelids twitched. Fu Dongting reached out and handed over the ointment, but the words, "little aunt," couldn't be shouted out. Sheng Congzhi didn't answer and spoke coldly, "Is there anything else?" Fu Dongting frowned and said, "Do you want it or not? I have already married your uncle. What should I call you in the future? Don't you need me to teach you again, right?" Sheng Congzhi said word by word, "Big, nephew, son." Fu Dongting's face suddenly turned cold, and he casually turned around and left. Sheng bent down from the branch to pick it up. My ex-fiancée knocked on the door in the middle of the night to deliver me ointment. Be attentive to nothing, either treacherous or stolen. If I had known earlier that I wouldn't have taken off my scarf during dinner. The Fu family's old house is decorated in a Chinese style, with even the furniture in a gloomy dark red color, and the bedroom is large and spacious. Sheng Congzhi recognized the bed and lay in an unfamiliar environment, tossing and turning, unable to sleep. I didn't sleep well all night. And Fu Yan didn't come back until he woke up the next day. I actually received a call from the Yi family. This weekend, you go home. Is there anything I need to do? My foster father Yi Lianhai spoke coldly, if I ask you to come back, you won't have so much nonsense. After speaking, the phone was hung up. When going downstairs for breakfast, Fu Yuting looked at it and deliberately asked, "Where's uncle?" Pei Qianyun smiled kindly and said, "Ian went to the hospital last night and said there was something urgent. The situation should be quite serious. He was busy all night and didn't come back." Didn't uncle just come back from a business trip? The hospital is too much, isn't it? There's no way. Who makes Ian a living sign outside of Yuncheng God? Many patients can't do without him. The two of them set up a stage. Sheng Congzhi drank millet porridge on his own. Ji. Pei Qianyun spoke affectionately, Ian's job is special, don't blame him, and don't think recklessly. How could it be? Sheng Congzhi responded in a low voice, men should prioritize their careers. Sister-in-law has taught me this. I used to teach my future daughter.in.law, but now I have become my sister.in.law. Pei Qianyan's smiling face showed a slight crack. Fleeting. She called the servant and said, "Have you packed the supplements and medicine?" The servant brought 2 large bags. Pei Qianyan, I know that Ji is busy with work and often gets her day and night reversed due to filming. These are the supplements I have prepared for her, and these are the traditional Chinese medicine secret formulas I have prepared with an old Chinese medicine practitioner. I take them twice a day on time, and in less than 6 months, I can adjust my body and prepare for pregnancy in 6 months. Mr. Fu nodded and said, "It's still thoughtful of you. All of this is what I should do. After all, Ian's age has come and he has been married to Ji for half a year. It's time to spread the branches and leaves for the Fu family." Sheng Congzhi didn't believe that Pei Qianyan would be so kind. "Sister-in-law, it's not that I don't want to get pregnant. I can't decide this kind of thing alone," he said. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's faces changed. Fu Yuding was even more straightforward and said, "Are you saying that uncle is not good at it?" Everyone said again, "Dot." Sheng Congzhi said, "Dot. She didn't say that. It's just that night passed in a daze, but she still remembered that at a critical moment, Fu Yan was able to calmly take safety measures at first glance. I just don't want her to get pregnant." After breakfast, Sheng Congzhi returned to his wedding room to rest. I still prefer to listen to the American retro style here in Lanyuan, which is classical, warm, and emotional. Every decoration detail is precisely based on her preferences. Fu Yan has a good aesthetic. Until the next evening, Sheng Congzhi slowly set off. First, I drove to the internet cafe opposite Yuncheng No. 4 Middle School, put on a wide-brimmed fisherman's hat and sunglasses, got off the car, and walked in. There were quite a few people on the weekend, with smoke and a worrying environment. Sheng Congzhi placed the bag containing traditional Chinese medicine on the counter and said, "Help me hand it over to Li Chao." After finishing these, we set off back to the Yi family. In the afternoon, there was just a drizzling rain in Yuncheng, and the evening jasmine in the villa courtyard was drenched in 7 or 8 twists. As the wind blew, the petals rustled and fluttered, bringing a lingering and elegant fragrance. Sheng Congzhi spat out his last cigarette ring with red lips, and with a flick of his delicate white wrist, the cigarette holder fell precisely into the nearby trash can. He then turned around and walked into the living room. Almost at the same time, the laughter and joy disappeared instantly. It was as if her arrival had shattered everything. Soon, accompanied by the sticky touch on her arms, Yi Jiarui's delicate voice rang out, "I'm sorry, Sister Gigi, I'll help you wipe it." Fu Dongting. When a dog bites LV Dongbin, it doesn't recognize good people. Fu Go. My wife is really narcissistic, I really like her. Sheng Congzhi. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. The Great Valkyrie. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 7. No More Endurance. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. No More Endurance. Sheng Congzhi just returned to Tinglan Garden and received a test report on WeChat. Li Chao. The test results are out. These traditional Chinese medicines are highly toxic and heat-inducing, promoting blood circulation and removing blood stasis. They are not really any fertility drugs for regulating the body, and abortion drugs are quite similar. Sheng raised his eyebrows from the branch. She just said, how could Pei Qianyan be so proactive in asking her to give birth to Fu Yan? Sure enough, my phone is ringing again. This time it was Yi Lianhai who called. What are you doing smashing the car for? What's wrong with you? You must confront your elders, right? I tell you, continuing to make such a fuss won't benefit you. Sheng hung directly from the branch. Before, she didn't understand why the Yi family didn't like her even though she was the daughter of the Yi family. It wasn't until an accidental eavesdropping that she realized she was adopted. Because Yi Jiarui disappeared shortly after she was born, and her search for a daughter was unsuccessful for several years. Later, with the guidance of an expert, she was selected to come back to the welfare home to be raised according to her birth date. It is said that they can accumulate merits and help them find their biological daughter as soon as possible. So she followed Sheng Wanru's surname Sheng. Even the name is well calculated. Jiarui, as delicate as Huarui, and her name is Congzhi, just a tool used to complement flowers. But she was still too naive at that time, thinking that it must be because she was not outstanding enough and did not do well enough, which was why she was not liked. So she worked hard to study, tried her best to please, and even endured and felt helpless. Until half a year ago, when Yi Jiarui returned, various experiences made Sheng Congzhi finally understand that he was just a substitute that could be discarded at any time. Since that's the case, she won't tolerate it anymore. At this moment, the Yi family is flying chickens and dogs. That red sports car is already scarred, with all the windows smashed and the body scratched, and many people pointing around. Because the car was parked outside, the Yi family did not hear any sound. When they discovered it, the owner group had already scanned the screen, thinking that the Yi family had been maliciously retaliated by some enemy. "Dad, calm down," Yi Jiarui said. Sister Gigi may have felt wronged, which is why she made a mistake on impulse. What did she feel wronged about? She took away your 20 years of love, and now it's just a little sacrifice for her to feel wronged. Can we just smash the car if we feel wronged? She's just bad. Yi Jiarui felt proud in her heart and pretended to say, "Sister Gigi is so popular now. Will it affect her if I suddenly snatch her number one? What's wrong with it?" Sheng Wanru said, "The entertainment industry is all about backstage. You're the daughter of the Yi family, and the female lead should be yours." Yi Donghai took out his phone directly and said, "I'll call Mr. Zhao now. He can do whatever he wants, just let you play the female lead." Yi Jiarui was moved and said, "Dad, Mom, you are so kind to me. Silly child, you are our biological daughter. If your parents are not good to you, who are they good to?" Sheng Wanru promised, "You can act well in the future, and leave everything else to your parents." Yi Jiarui nodded and said, "I will definitely work hard." Sheng Congzhi has been dominating the Yi family for 20 years, enjoying all the resources and wealth that should have belonged to her. Now, at the age of 20.1, she has become a popular figure in the entertainment industry. But as for her, she's already 20.4 this year and has been in the entertainment industry for several years, playing all the tricks. I used to flatter Sheng Congzhi and even respectfully call her Sister Ji, for the sake of a small role as a maid. The most disgusting thing is that this character was eventually given a newcomer by Sheng Congzhi who was not as good as her. At the thought of this, Yi Jiarui felt both regret and hatred. So from now on, not only will she take back everything that belongs to her, but most importantly, she will also completely drive Sheng Congzhi out of the Yi family. The next morning, the Yi family went to pick up a new car. The next day, I personally escorted my daughter to the company. Entering the elevator, Sheng Congzhi happened to be inside. Wearing brown sunglasses, stepping on high heels, dressed in a red dress, exuding a majestic aura. Yi Jiarui couldn't help but say, "Sister Gigi, the female lead in Palace has been replaced by me. Didn't you receive any notification?" Sheng Congzhi played with the agarwood bracelet on his wrist, his red lips high and cold, too lazy to bother her. Being ignored in public, Yi Jiarui felt aggrieved and decided to go down to the next city. "How come you still can't figure out your identity? I advise you, those who are more sensible, to go back quickly, so as not to embarrass yourself in front of the director later." Tisk. Sheng Congzhi finally looked up, but turned to his side. "Wan, has the female number one changed?" The assistant often hesitated for a moment and said, no, right. I didn't receive any notification. Since that's the case, Sheng said from the branch, Yi Jiarui, this is Ihua. You are just a small star in the company's 18th tier, and it's your turn to be reckless here. How could Yi Jiarui bear such humiliation? Who did you say 18 threads? Your variety shows and endorsements, to put it bluntly, are just for the sake of the Yi family's face. Do you really think you have fans and your status has also increased? Sheng Congzhi smiled. I tell you, in Ihua, if you really want to change to the female lead, not me, then you are even more unworthy. The elevator has arrived. Yi Jiarui still wanted to speak, but was stopped by her agent. I could only look at her proud and coquettish figure, my gaze filled with anger, as if it had been poisoned. Wait and see. I'll see how you cry later. Just enter the conference room, one in front and one behind. Sheng Congzhi had just sat down when someone from behind whispered, why is Yi Jiarui here? Does this play have her? The other person said, don't you know? The female lead has been replaced by her. Is it really fake? Is it so sudden? I heard from the deputy director that Yi has invested 20 million yuan in us, and he has named Yi Jiarui as the lead actress. TSK, it's good to have a good pregnancy. No wonder she can take the endorsement of Sweet. It's her father awesome. It seems that our Ihua is going to change. Sheng Congzhi took off his sunglasses and his face was cold. She has been with the Yi family for so many years, but she has never received any help from the Yi family. Even if she entered the entertainment industry, she always fought alone, to the point where no one in the company knows that she is the adopted daughter of the Yi family. Chang Wan's expression suddenly changed. What Yi Jiarui said earlier was true. Did the female lead really change to her? Sheng curved his lips from the branch and said, didn't you miss the notification? Yeah, I didn't expect it to be true. Chang Wan's face collapsed. Sister Ji, how could you still laugh? Sheng Congzhi's peach blossom eyes were in full bloom in spring. If you don't laugh now, won't you be able to laugh even more later? Chang Wan. End of this chapter. Chapter 8, Face on the Spot. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 9. 9. Dogs of the Fu Family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. 9. Dogs of the Fu Family. The living room of the Yi family. Sheng Wanru frowned and said, why is Zhao Yang like this? He doesn't take money and doesn't do anything. He's still in front of so many people. Isn't he deliberately making us coquettish and unable to come down? It's just too much. Yi Lianhai is also very angry. Unfortunately, I feel very frustrated. Outsiders may not know, but he knows best. Yi looks at the scenery, but the internal funding problem has been long standing, with 20 million already the limit. Unexpectedly, Sheng Yao suddenly took out 10 times the money. Yi Jiarui pretended to be considerate and magnanimous. It's okay, I can also play the second female lead. After all, Mr. Zhao said that it was Mr. Sheng Yao's little Lu who called on Sister Gigi to become the first female lead. Lu Huichen. Sheng Wanru was surprised. This dead girl, even though she's married, is not clear with other men. She really doesn't love herself. Shouldn't it be? In recent years, there have been so many scandals about Sister Gigi, not just Mr. Lu, but no one has ever taken a photo of Sherhammer. She should just be a friend. Flies don't bite seamless eggs. Sheng Wanru said, since entering the entertainment industry, her black materials have never been cut off. It's hard to say that it was someone else deliberately framing you. So why didn't anyone frame you? It's not because she's not behaving properly in her personal life. Yi Jiarui didn't speak anymore. Sheng Congzhi quickly received a call from Lu Huichen. I've asked before, it was really the big brother who voted. I didn't expect him to be so generous suddenly. Last time, I only dared to mention 50 million, but my lips were worn out and I didn't agree. Don't do this next time, Sheng Congzhi said. You've helped me too much. Do you want to thank me? Lu Huichen chuckled, do we have dinner together on Saturday? They haven't been together for a long time, Sheng Congzhi nodded and said, sure. In the next few days, Sheng Congzhi will devote himself wholeheartedly to the preparation of the new drama. As for Fu Yan, I haven't heard back from Lan Yuan. Maybe my ex-girlfriend came back, so I couldn't help but forget that I still have a home. Until Friday night. Sheng Congzhi had just come out of the bathroom when a shadow suddenly appeared in front of him. Her hand was held and her body was instantly pressed against the wall. A cold breath of tobacco wafted over, accompanied by a faint smell of disinfectant. She blurted out, how did you come back? Fu Yan looked at her from a high position, biting a cigarette at the corner of his mouth with a lazy attitude. This is my house, why can't I come back? Sheng Congzhi just took a bath, and because he was at home, he only wore a thin white camisole nightgown and didn't wear any underwear. His exposed skin was pink, and their positions were ambiguous at the moment. Her cheeks were inevitably burning, but her voice was calm. How do I feel that for you? This place is similar to a hotel. It's not that you haven't recovered yet, so you'll be staying in the dormitory for the next few days. Fu Yan said, suddenly curling his lips and laughing mischievously, so you want me to go home? Well, from today on, as long as there is no night shift, I will come back to accompany you, okay? A man's voice is magnetic and pleasant to listen to, especially when he deliberately suppresses his voice and speaks sweet words, which is both suggestive and flirtatious. Sheng Congzhi has filmed many scenes and collaborated with many high-quality male artists in recent years, but no one has a voice like him. Committing a foul. It's a pity not to become a voice actor. No need, Sheng Tsung's mind was full of imagination, but he remained calm on the surface of the branch. You play with you, we don't interfere with each other. Fu Yan squinted at her. Due to the backlight and a layer of lenses, the man's emotions are somewhat unpredictable. Sheng Congzhi added, by the way, when do you want a divorce? Just let me know in advance. I don't want your property. If you're still worried, we can sign an agreement. Fu Yan suddenly took off his cigarette, lowered his head, and directly bit her lips. Sheng took a deep breath of cold air in pain from the branch. Subconsciously opening his mouth, but letting him take advantage of the situation. This kiss lasted for several minutes. After finally finishing, Fu Yan left and rubbed her lips with his fingers, threatening, next time I dare to say divorce, I'll bite more than just this little mouth. In his mind, there was an electric light and a firestone, and Sheng's reaction came from the branch. She blushed and said, rogue. How can you call your wife a hooligan? Fu Yan's tone was both seductive and sinister. This is called cultivating marital interest. My phone is ringing. Sheng Congzhi hurriedly pushed him, telephone. Fu Yan smiled and leaned back, taking out his phone from his pocket. Say, he said, Fu what are you doing? Sheng turned from the branch. Touching my lips, it feels swollen and painful. Is this person from the dog family? Why does he like to bite people so much? Fu Yan looked at Sheng Congzhi's fair and delicate neck, and the emotions in his eyes darkened and darkened. Missing dad. You belong to the dog family, right? Lu Jiangyan scolded. I asked you, didn't you say you're married? It happened to be my grandfather's birthday on Saturday, so you brought someone over to take a look. Fu Yan's thin lips curled and he said, let me ask. After hanging up the phone, he asked directly, are you free tomorrow? Please accompany me to meet an elder. Sheng Congzhi was stunned for a moment before realizing it. He turned to look at him and said, what? Fu Yan casually extinguished his cigarette in the ashtray and explained casually, we've been married for half a year now, and it's time we took you to meet my friends. Friend? Shouldn't it be his ex-girlfriend Xia Zhishi? Sheng Congzhi thought of the phone call at the Fu family that night, and her expression was cold. "I have plans for tomorrow," she said. Fu Yan didn't insist either. "Okay." After speaking, he went into the bathroom. After taking a shower, Sheng Congzhi had already changed into home clothes and sat in front of the dressing table. He had chestnut curly hair tied high into balls, holding a thick script and a pen in his hand, looking serious. Fu Yan took a few steps and bent down to pick her up. Sure enough, Sheng Congzhi's body tightened in an instant, and his fingers holding the pen turned white with force. "What are you doing?" Fu Yanpi laughed and said, "It's almost 10 o'clock. What do you think I want?" Sheng Congzhi's heart pounded as he tried to push him, only to find him wrapped in a towel and not wearing any clothes. "Do you prefer the bed or the sofa?" Sheng Congzhi. In the end, he succeeded. "That's right. The two are now husband and wife, and everything that should have happened has already happened." She tried to evade further, which seemed too pretentious. Besides tonight, Fu Yan was much gentler than before, and even took her to the bathroom to take a shower after finishing. Then, he wrapped her in a towel and carried her back to the bedroom. Sheng Congzhi closed his eyes and quickly fell asleep. Fu Go. What should my wife do if she wants to divorce every day? Waiting online, it's quite urgent. End of this chapter. Chapter 10, Husband. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10, Husband. The next day when he woke up, just like last time, Fu Yan had already left. I got up and went to the bathroom, only to find that my neck was very clean this time. In an instant, I thought of asking him not to bite her neck last night, but he forcefully hooked me up and shouted, "Husband," several times. This guy is a real dog. A blush slowly appeared on Sheng Congzhi's face. Yi family. Early in the morning, a stylist came to shape Yi Jiaorui. "Put on your makeup, put on a formal dress and high heels, and then put on the jade necklace passed down by the Yi family. My house is so delicate and beautiful." Sheng Wanru was very satisfied. At the banquet later, her daughter will surely amaze the whole audience. Yi Jiaorui asked, "Is Sister Gigi really not going? What do you care about her?" Sheng Wanru became annoyed when she heard the name. "Today is Mr. Lu's birthday banquet, inviting celebrities from Cloud City. What qualifications does she have to go? It's not embarrassing enough." Even Yi Jiaorui was able to attend because of Fu Dongting's face. Sheng Congzhi is just an adopted daughter, and she is secretly married to Fu Yan. The Fu family cannot let her show her face. Jiao Jiao. Sheng Wanru gave various reminders. "Today is your first public appearance with Dongting. Remember, if you have anything you don't understand, ask him. Be sure to get along well with him and strive to marry into the Fu family as soon as possible." Yi Jiaorui nodded shyly and said, "I know." At 11 noon, Fu Dongting arrived at the Yi family on time. He was dressed in formal attire, handsome, gentle, and elegant, and the Yi family were very satisfied. After a brief conversation, the two got into the car and left. "Brother Dongting, isn't Sister Gigi really coming to the birthday banquet today?" "She won't come." Yi Jiaorui felt relieved, but still deliberately asked him, "Is it uncle who doesn't have time to take her to attend? The doctor seems quite busy, often having to work overtime on weekends." Fu Dongting's words were concise and clear, "I'm not sure. Fu Yan lives outside, and he doesn't know or want to know anything about this uncle." Arriving at the hotel and just coming out of the elevator, suddenly my phone rang. Fu Dongting answers the phone. I don't know what the other end said, but he spoke urgently, "I'll go over right away." Hanging up the phone, Fu Dongting explained, "Jiao Jiao, I suddenly have an urgent matter to go over. You go first." After speaking, he turned around and left. Yi Jiaorui can only enter the banquet hall by herself, but who knows, please present the invitation letter. Invitation letter. Where does Yi Jiaorui have it? She explained, "I came with brother Dongting, but he had something unexpected." Sorry, no one is allowed inside without an invitation letter. Yi Jiarui asked, don't you know me? Staff member. May I ask who you are? Yi Jiarui. Yes. Compared to the big families like Yuncheng, the Yi family can only be considered a nouveau riche at most, and cannot be compared to a scholarly family like the Lu family. But she has been back at the Yi family for almost half a year now, taking on several endorsements, and frequently showcasing popular variety shows, not to mention that Sheng Wanru has been taking her into contact with the upper-class circle these days. Are these people blind? You don't even know her. At this moment, a familiar voice sounded, can you explain, Lu Huaichen? Sheng Congzhi came out of the elevator and saw the bustling scene ahead, feeling completely refreshed. Do you think it's a coincidence? The young man with bright silver hair smiled awkwardly. Today happens to be my grandfather's birthday, so I thought I might as well bring you to the birthday party. Sheng Congzhi chuckled, why didn't you tell me in advance? On the surface, Lu Huaichen remained calm, but in his heart, he panicked and said, I didn't. I saw you too excited, so I forgot about it for a while. Sheng curved his red lips from the branch and remained silent. Lu Huaichen was most afraid of her anger, so he quickly coaxed her with kind words, everyone has come with me to meet Grandpa. Don't worry, my grandpa is very approachable. I didn't bring a gift, Sheng Congzhi interrupted. Lu Huaichen was already prepared. I've already prepared everything for you. Let's talk more. The future granddaughter-in-law is the best birthday gift. At this moment, Yi Jiarui's voice suddenly interjected, Sister Gigi. What a coincidence, so you're here too. Sheng looked at her with slanted eyes, his expression cold and indifferent. Compared to her enthusiasm, her attitude seemed like they didn't even know each other. So Lu Huaichen frowned and said, who are you? Yi Jiarui quickly introduced herself, hello Mr. Xiaolu, I am Gigi's sister, my name is Yi Jiarui. Oh, Lu Huaichen pondered, are you the daughter of the Yi family who just found her? Yi Jiarui smiled and nodded. Next second. You don't look very good either, Lu Huaichen looked up and down with a sharp and arrogant tone. Whether it's your appearance or temperament, you're too far from Gigi. Are the Fu family blind? Keep the good pearls and don't want you to be such a fish-eye pearl. Yi Jiarui's cheeks turned red in an instant. Branches, let's go, Lu Huaichen gestured with a tilted head. Sister Gigi. Yi Jiarui shouted shamelessly, Brother Dongting needs to come later. Can you take me in? I don't have an invitation letter, and I can't get through on the phone. Sheng Congzhi stopped and retorted, who is your sister? Do I know you? Yi Jiarui couldn't believe it. Sister Gigi, why are you doing this? How am I? Sheng raised his eyebrows like a moon, then curled his red lips, appearing even more demonic. I'm just a celebrity in the entertainment industry. I don't have that much face to bring you to the Lu family's birthday banquet. I want to go in. Who brought you here, who are you looking for? Lu Huaichen even instructed the staff, today is my grandfather's birthday banquet, but it's not as simple as a birthday celebration. My eldest brother is almost 30 years old, and my second brother is also 20.7 years old, so you need to keep an eye on it. Don't let any cat or dog in casually, can you hear it clearly? Everyone spoke in unison, I heard you clearly. Yi Jiarui was so angry that she almost bit her lips open. What does this Lu Huaichen mean? Do you confuse her with those women who want to take advantage of the opportunity to climb the dragon and become a phoenix? It's so bullying. There are already many people in the banquet hall. Men and women dress up in formal attire, especially young girls, dressed in various high-end formal attire, showcasing their beauty and charm. Compared to them, Sheng Congzhi's water blue custom dress on her body looks slightly casual. However, her natural hanger, coupled with her stunning face even wearing sunglasses, almost caught the attention of many people as soon as she entered the hall. Brother Chen. Fu Yuding rushed over in a light green dress. Yuding. Lu Huichen was surprised, when did you return to China? Fu Yuding, however, looked at the woman beside him with hostility in her eyes and said, Brother Chen, who is she? Forward Shura field babies who are reading the text, leave a footprint and vote, Momada, end of this chapter.